Good day, YouTube. Back with another video here. And as you can see, we have a 2008 Chevy Silverado 1500 work truck that I purchased through Copart. And the reason for this video is that I just want to take you along for the ride to show you that I purchased the vehicle, did all the repairs myself in my front yard, and I'm also going to make the sale myself here without having to use anyone as a middle person. And basically just show you how I pretty much did everything for the self-doers out there who actually want to get into this business. Now, with that being said, let's just jump to the video here. And as you can see, this is a Minneapolis car. So up in those areas, we have a lot of snow. So these cars are impacted by that weather condition, which causes a lot of rust on the frame, which I will address. And I'll take you along for the ride here to show you how I wire wheeled the whole frame in the areas which I was able to reach, and just pretty much reconditioned everything. Now, as you can see here, after wire wheeling everything, I surfaced everything with some black cement paint. And I took the whole suspension apart, and we're pretty much assembling everything back over here. Now, before I do that, I'm working on the upper control arm, just dabbing some grease in there because this is a moving part. Now, any moving part, I just find it's okay to dab a little bit of grease, even though by factory it did not have that, but this actually helps for the installation purposes. Now, due to the accident that this vehicle received here, there was some warpage on the lower control arm. No matter what I did to try to get that lower control arm to slide incorrectly, it would not. So I had to do a bit of stretching here just to put things in place to where they should be. And as you can see, I'm kind of measuring with the nuts and bolts to see if everything lines up, just to make sure that they're in place properly. Now, I'm still working with the hydraulic set here, and when working with these tools, you have to be very careful because there's a lot of pressure. As you can see here, it pretty much popped on me, but it did help, and I was able to get that lower control arm into place how it should be. And I am not tightening everything. I kind of want to get everything in place. That way I can see how it lines up. And if everything lines up correctly, I'll torque it to the proper specs here. Now, this is a whole front end brand new suspension that I'm doing to the truck here. Rather than to recondition the other parts and put them back on, these are parts that do suffer from wear and tear. So I thought it would be safer and better to kind of just replace everything. And as you can see here, we pretty much got the wheel hub, the struts, the upper lower control arm, and also the spindle already installed here. Not completed, but just installed for the sake of having everything in place. That way I can get the vehicle on 4 wheels, and from that point I can focus on the body panels here, which I will show you on the other section here. Now, these are just the bolts, the brake calipers, which I've decided to recondition with the wire wheel. And as you can see here, I got everything surfaced back to the metal, and sprayed some rust retard on there, which stops the rust. And it also coats the calipers with a special primer so that rust does not come back. And I've decided to go with the red caliper paint here, which also prevents, well, I would not say prevents, but it does help so that brake dust does not stick to the paint as a normal paint would. Now, powder coating would have been the better choice for durability, and also I would say for presentation, because anything powder coated, it does look nice. But since this is just a Copart build, the option of painting also presents itself very well, as you can see here. And this is just the first coat. And before I move on to the next coat, I just want to get the other one set up here. That way everything is nicely painted and can simultaneously just air out at the same time. That way everything is prepared. And I'll just let this sit so I can focus on the other portions of the build here. That way we can give the paint time to settle, because the more time we give it, the more durable it becomes. But as you can see here, it presents itself well. Does not have a full shiny surface, but it does look nice. And I believe on the truck it will give it a different appearance, much more better performance appearance. Now here, as you know, before painting anything, I like to make sure that my garage is nicely cleaned, prep. I try to get as much dust and things that are flying around out of the way, because that just reduces the chances of little particles sticking onto the panel, which I will be painting here. So I would say preparation plays an important part when it comes to painting. The more you can prep your area, the less of a hassle you will have to worry about possible things that can fly onto your part. So I like to make sure that I play my part into making sure that I have a nice clean area. But garage open, just using my lawn blower here to get as much dust as I can out. And this is my area here. Got the tarps up into areas where I do not want the paint dust to travel. And as you can see, we're working with the Minimite 5 on this one, and plays a good part. I like the machine. I find that it works very well for what I'm doing as a do-it-yourselfer. Now we're prepping our hood here. This hood did come prepared in a black primer, but right out of the box, I guess because I had it sitting in the garage, there were just layers of dust buildup. So I'm using the glass cleaner as a solution here to just rid of much of the surface particles and dust that I can. Now this is just one of the solutions that help, but water also breaks down a lot of buildup, depending on, I guess, the condition of the part. Now in this portion, as you can see, I got the fender hung also, and because the surface was such a glacier, smooth surface, I wanted to pass a pad on there just to give it a more etchier surface. And as you can see, after that, there was a bit of contamination, just little particles that stuck to the panel. So I'm going over it again with some glass cleaner, just to kind of have a much better, cleaner surface. But this is not the final solution. You know, I do have a degreaser and other things which I will also pass. And between each step, I also blow it out just to make sure that it's nicely dry. Now in this portion, as you can see, I'm just checking my paint gun, making sure that there's no added deposits on the internal parts here, which could affect the performance of the gun. And we're just getting our clear coat together here. And as you can see by factory numbers, we want to make sure that we have those properly aligned. And I'm working with the 3M PPS 2.0 system here, which I find to be a good system when it comes to painting for me. And we have our area laid out here. As you can see, we have our parts hung. So I'm pretty much just examining the environment. As you can see, all of the hooks that properly attach the hood to the stand here, you want to make sure that these parts are aligned properly, because you don't want moving parts when you're painting, especially when something comes apart and it bumps against something that you did not want to happen. So you want to make sure that those areas are nicely constructed to where painting takes place, but nothing is ruining your project as you're proceeding with it. So we'll give the panel another blowout here. And when it comes to your surface panels preparation, I find to be everything. You want to make sure that your surface is clean and that nothing comes in between your paint and also your panel, which you are painting. So I like to examine the areas just to make sure that it's clean, because the more time we allow this panel to just sit there without doing anything to it, that only increases the chances of probably a fly or a dust or something just falling on there to stick. So I like to prep, and then after that, if I have to prep again, I'll prep again, as much as I have to, just to make sure that the surface is clean. Now, as you can see, I'm working on the second coat of paint here. Sorry, I did not record the first section, but normally when I'm on the go like this, I'm pretty much trying to get these parts in and out. But everything is coming out nice, and on one clip here, you will see that I did get good atomization from the gun with the paint. And we're laying down our clear coat, and this is the final product here. I did get some runs, which I will sand down and just give it a nice buff. But as you can see there, the paint and everything laid out nicely. And now in this portion, I'm pretty much just disassembling the hood here, because I want to take the time to make sure that all of the old parts are off the truck so I can get the new ones in. And this is the bumper here, which came in, I would say, an assortment of pieces. But we got that together, and as you can see here, the hood is on, the fender is on, and everything lined up correctly. And things are starting to look decent here as I continue to put the parts back onto the truck. I did not have an issue. Everything just went on easily, and we'll move on to the passenger side. Now, since I'm working by myself, I like to do everything piece by piece here. But as you can see, the hood, the bumpers, everything is already assembled onto the vehicle, and I was able to get that tire on the driver's side completed to shift the truck over to the left side, which gives me more access to the passenger side here. Now, I wanted to present you with some clips of the disassemble here, since I did not do it with the driver's side. But I don't want to say it's pretty simple. There's a lot of safety measures that have to be taken into consideration when you're doing this type of work. Because there's a lot of tension on these suspensions. So what I do, I kind of loosen everything just to reduce the tension that are on the struts here. And then from that point on, it's just a matter of unbolting everything piece by piece. Everyone has their, I guess, different steps in how they do things. I guess as long as you're safe, you're doing it in a way to where you're not hurting yourself, but you're not damaging the parts. But in this clip here, as you can see, I got everything laid out successfully, and kind of just examining the parts. And some of the parts are salvageable. I will use them again. Now, in this clip here, as you can see, I'm working with the Ryobi angle grinder just to scratch these surfaces where I am able to reach to remove that surface rust. And I'm working with an assortment of tools here, and as you can see, I'm actually making progress to scratch the surface. And then from that point, I'll spray the rust retard on there, and I'll give it a good wipe down, and I'll allow it to dry just to penetrate through the metal. And then I have some black cement paint, which actually works great on frames, and it's actually what it's made for. It sticks to metal real good, and it protects the metal from the outside environment so that the moisture and everything that can penetrate that metal to prevent the rust from coming back. And as you can see here, I'm just passing it through, and we have a much more presentable area here of the frame. I like this better rather than to sell it the way I had it, because it did not look good, and I feel much more comfortable with this. Now we're working on the lower control arm on the passenger side, and I'm kind of just knocking things in place to get everything to line up correctly, the nuts and bolts here. With a couple of taps and a little bit of manipulation, I was able to get that in place without a problem. The lower control arm space is does have a slight narrowing. That way the arms do fit snug. Now, since I have the upper and the lower control arm in place here, I can go ahead and proceed with the strut. And what I'll do, I'll just attach that to the top position where it connects. And just let it freely hang. I'll put in the bolt so that it kind of holds it in place, because I'm still checking everything to make sure that everything lines up properly. You don't want to force anything into place. If it's giving you a hard time, that means something is not right. Now, when it comes to parts that you can reuse, like the dust shield here, it's best to use them rather than to purchase another one. But in this case, that dust shield is actually a part that's discontinued since this truck is older than 10 years. So I decided to reuse it again. So I'm just sanding it down here with my Ryobi grinder, try to get it down to the metal. And I'll use an assortment of techniques to see how I can clean the surface so that it's not as bad as it is. But like I said, this is a car from up north, and that snow pretty much played a number on these parts here. There's a lot of pitting, but that's fine because it's just a dust shield. So what I actually want to do is clean it as much as I can, get the rust out so that it does not cause any more damage to where it already has. I'll scrape it down to the metal, I'll clean it, I'll put that rust retard on there just to get it to the best of condition that I can get it. And then I'll clean it up here, and then I'll spray some more rust retard to prime that area in. And I'm just giving it a quick paint here. Since the brake calipers are red, I decided to do that red also. And as you can see, I'm just assembling the spindle and the wheel hub here. I want to make sure that the brake caliper aligns without a problem, because this is an aftermarket spindle. And what I come to see, it does not allow the brake caliper to line up where it should be. So I ended up having to cut, I'd say, about 2 inches from the bottom here, from the dust shield, so that I can get the brake caliper to fit. But as you can see now, everything is properly aligned, and I can go ahead and get everything in place. Now, this is something, a jack stand underneath that lower control arm would have helped, rather than me forcing to actually hold it in place. But I successfully did get that in where it should be. And as you can see, it's all done. And this is the 66 Impala I also want to bring up here. As you can see, it's not under the covers anymore. I'm going to take a break from purchasing cars on Copart. Every time I go there, I find myself looking at something else I want to place a bid on. But when I do that, this car kind of suffers here. So I want to get back into the swing of things. And as you can see, all the parts here are fresh, nicely powder coated. Not freshly, but these are parts that I actually powder coated a couple of months back. And moving on to the truck here, as you can see, I'm working on bleeding the brakes. And I found a tool on Amazon that actually worked great for this. I kind of did some research on it, and it's a self-bleeder to where I would actually not need anyone to apply pressure to the brakes. But what this tool actually does here, you screw that nipple into the master cylinder, and you pretty much just give it a couple of pumps and you apply pressure, and this just builds up enough pressure to where it causes that fluid to run through all of the lines. And each brake that I did bleed, it just came out squirting, so it worked out really great for me. Now, upon bleeding the brakes, I came upon another problem here, and that's the rear shocks. As you can see, they were pretty much just busted. So before installing new ones, I wanted to recondition that frame area also, get that cleaned up. That way it looked nice, but at the same time, the rust, which is cancerous, did not spread to cause any more damage to the new ones. And as you can see here, upon reviewing everything, we got a much cleaner backside. This was not something that was in the plan, but upon just viewing everything, it did look bad. So I wanted to address that. Now, as you can see, I finally got the truck out in traffic here. The inspection from the DMV is done. The tag and the title is transferred under my name, and fixing that front windshield, and got the truck back home now. And there were just some tape here when I received the truck from the auction. This door could not close, so they had a tape to seal it so that water did not damage the inside, and I'm glad that they did that. But as you can see, I'm pretty much giving the truck a nice detail here, making sure that everything is clean, looking nice and ready to go. And this is our final end result here of the truck that I purchased. Now, I had a family member that also asked me, how did I get into this? And they were just shocked that I was doing this kind of work. And I explained that I had a bad experience with a paint guy who I actually had do all my work for me, which led me to actually want to get into this myself and not have to depend on someone else to do my work. But yeah, pretty much purchased the car through Copart, and had it shipped to my house rather than him, because it was just minor damage on the door. So something I thought I could do it myself. So I removed the door and took the doors over to his shop myself, and I purchased 2 used doors, and I pretty much just wanted him to match the paint to the color of the doors that I gave him. And towards the end of it, when I picked up the doors, they did not match, just putting both doors side by side. And when I brought that to his attention, and but nobody's a rocket scientist, but anyone can see that the doors did not match. But just end of story here. Yeah, he was pretty much wanted me to repay if he had to redo the doors. Now, an error that's on his part, and after that pretty much just left a bad taste in my mouth for doing business with some people. So every car that I purchased from Copart, I pretty much had it shipped to my house. And if it's something that I could do on my own, I said I was going to learn how to do this, and I did it. And here we are. Had it shipped to my house. Truck is done. It's looking real nice, and it will be on your eBay and OfferUp pages, so look out for that.